Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Today we're diving into the warning signs of fascism in modern America and why understanding these signs is so critical for protecting our democracy.
I'm really looking forward to this. It's a topic that's both timely and super important.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics. Fascism it's a far-right ideology. It's characterized by authoritarianism, ultranationalism, and the suppression of dissent, kind of similar to what we saw in early 20th century Europe.
Yep, exactly. And when you think about it, it's not just a historical phenomenon. It's re-emerging today, right?
Yes, exactly. It comes back, often subtly. It creeps in gradually, through, say, the erosion of our democratic norms.
I see. Can you explain what you mean by that?
For sure. So, think of this. Over time, questioning election results without evidence, undermining the free press, and weakening independent institutions like our courts. These are all early warning signs. It's like slowly chipping away at the very foundation of democracy.
Right, it's like a slow burn, isn't it? You don't notice it all at once until it's too late.
Exactly. And what fascinates me is how turbulent periods, times of political or economic instability, make people more vulnerable to these radical narratives. People feel uncertain about their futures, worry about losing cultural or economic status, and then they latch onto movements that promise unity and a return to a better past.
Absolutely. So it's like a psychological safety net, even if it's, well, fundamentally dangerous.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. The allure comes from the promise of strength and order. This is why fascism often thrives on division. It picks targets, immigrants, minorities, even political opponents, portraying them as threats to national unity.
It's kind of ironic, though. Promising unity by dividing society. Right. That contradiction is hard to miss.
Precisely. And then there's the phenomenon of elevating the leader to a near mythical status. Loyalty shifts from institutions, like the Constitution or the law, to this charismatic authoritarian figure. This structure undermines the very fabric of democratic checks and balances.
That's interesting. But don't you think sometimes people are just, looking for strong leadership during crisis times?
That's a fair point. I mean, having confidence in leadership, stable leadership, is important. However, when that confidence crosses into blind loyalty and the suppression of dissent, it becomes a gateway to authoritarianism.
Agreed. And what's really scary is how this process of sliding into fascism happens gradually, almost imperceptibly.
Right. It's not like one day democracy flips overnight. It's a gradual evolution, first by undermining independent institutions, then glorifying nationalism to an extreme degree.
And then, eventually, peaceful protests are mischaracterized as violent, while dissent is actively suppressed. It's a dangerous cycle.
Exactly. For instance, think about how dissenting voices are discredited as fake news. Media that challenges the dominant narrative gets labeled enemies, and, well, that makes it easier for a political agenda to take over public discourse.
That sounds like a recipe for a society controlled by, just one perspective, right?
Yes, and it's this centralization of power that's so concerning. When executive power overshadows legislative and judicial processes, you're essentially paving the way for authoritarian control.
Exactly. But isn't it true that even in fully functioning democracies, these pressures exist in a milder form? I'm thinking of critiques of the system that sometimes get dismissed too quickly.
I totally get that. But the real issue is normalization. When authoritarian rhetoric is repeatedly used without consequence and even rewarded, it sends a message that these behaviors are acceptable. And over time, the public starts to adopt and internalize these extreme views.
That's where it becomes almost self-fulfilling, right? Once those behaviors become normalized, there's less resistance, and then it just snowballs.
Exactly. And, take a look at recent trends. You have political leaders challenging the legitimacy of democratic elections, the free press being attacked, minorities and immigrants portrayed as threats. It all mirrors in many ways the early stages of authoritarian regimes we saw in
Absolutely, no
history.
doubt about it. And speaking of history, the content draws a parallel to 1933 Germany, right? It shows that Hitler was appointed chancellor in a democratic setting, and then the system was dismantled from within, step by step.
Right. History teaches us that fascism doesn't always slam the door shut in one fell swoop. It, eats away at democracy from the inside, and that's why vigilance is key.
Vigilance indeed. So, looking at the current state in the United States, the warning signs like undermining election credibility, the branding of the free press as enemies of the people, and the discrediting of marginalized communities, do you think these are evidence of us sliding towards authoritarianism?
Well, they're certainly alarming indicators. When you see political extremism like white nationalism and anti-government militias on the rise and, public trust in institutions crumbling, it's hard not to be
Yeah, that's
concerned.
very concerning. Yet, I wonder if perhaps these indicators might be overblown by some analysts as a form of, hyperbole. What do you think?
That's a fair critique. I mean, not every critique automatically signals a full slide into fascism, but the cumulative effect of so many warning signs, when combined with the normalization of authoritarian rhetoric, it paints a pretty clear picture.
I understand your perspective. And then there's the idea of education. The content stresses that we need to educate others about how fascism works. It suggests that many are simply not aware until it's too late.
Absolutely. Education is our best tool. We must facilitate open, informed discussions to, counteract disinformation. That means challenging, ideological narratives when they distort history or facts,
Yep, that's
and
essential.
promoting media literacy.
And on that note, there's a call to action. Vote, protest, speak up, support organizations that champion civil rights. It's a reminder that protecting democracy is a continuous, participatory effort.
For sure, it's like maintaining a garden. You can't just plant the seeds and walk away. You have to nurture it, weed out the bad influences, and protect it from, infestations that might cause harm.
What a great analogy. That does paint a vivid picture. And, it really emphasizes how delicate our democratic systems can be if left unguarded.
Exactly. We see that fascism, historically speaking, didn't burst in overnight. It, developed over time through systematic steps, like undermining the very institutions that keep power in check.
And the crucial point is, we're at a crossroads where our actions matter. If we ignore these early warning signs, we could be on a slippery slope toward authoritarian behavior.
Yes, and it's worth noting that, the content warns us that silence or inaction effectively condones these dangerous trends. Being aware isn't enough. We have to act, too.
Absolutely, action is key. It makes you think about what responsibilities we have as citizens, engaging in debates, educating our peers, and holding leaders accountable.
Right. And honestly, while it's a heavy topic, it's also, empowering when you understand that these are issues we can actually combat. Every vote, every informed conversation builds a defense against authoritarianism.
Yep, every bit counts. In a way, it's like we're guarding a legacy, the legacy of our democratic principles which have evolved over centuries.
Exactly. Our history shows what happens when we let authoritarian ideas go unchecked. Wars, violence, and, mass atrocities. And the content reminds us that these are not abstract fears. They happened. And they can happen again if we don't push
That's
back.
the hard truth. So, to wrap it up, what do you think is the most important takeaway?
I'd say it's this. Vigilance and active, informed participation are our best defenses against the creeping normalization of fascist ideologies. We must be aware of the warning signs, like the erosion of democratic norms and extreme nationalist rhetoric, and respond by engaging fully in our political system.
Right on. And while it's, daunting to think about such possibilities, recognizing these trends can actually galvanize us to protect our society and its values.
Absolutely. It's a call to see history for what it can teach us and use that knowledge to safeguard our future.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for that deep dive into a truly pressing issue. It's been an enlightening discussion, and I hope our listeners feel as empowered as I do to protect democracy.
Thanks for joining this conversation. Remember, the fight for democracy starts with each one of us being informed and engaged.
Absolutely, every voice counts. Until next time, stay proactive and keep questioning.